let's get this poker game started. The wilds today are the one-eyed jacks and the man with the axe. Anything following the dirty queen is out. Fours are a pay card. You gotta pay for it, but you could use it right up front or you could save it till the end. Alright, let's get your antes in so I can get these cards out. Don't look at your cards, you're always cheating with it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Miss Jody's Musical Minutes. I am excited to get to the next component in our music building videos. So far we have, in our building materials, we have the 5-line staff with the ledger lines that extend things. We have the clefs at the beginning of the line. We also have the time signatures and the things that divide those staff lines, which are the bar lines or the measure lines. And now the next thing we need to do is to talk about key signatures. Now, when we go to talk about key signatures, I'm going to start by giving you just a little bit of my own personal background. I grew up in a family that was big gamers. I'm not talking about the Xbox or the PS4 things. No, I'm talking about real games. Monopoly, Sorry, Clue, Life, and more importantly, all the card playing that we did. So, at any family gathering in my family, whether it was a birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, it didn't matter what it was. Whenever we got together as a family, we would have our big meal. And immediately after that meal was over, we would clear all the dishes, take the tablecloth off, and we would flip the table pads, those pads that protect your good dining room table. We would flip them over because on the other side of those pads was green felt. The whole thing was covered in green felt, just like a poker table. And then you'd see everybody bring out their plastic Cool Whip containers that were overflowing with pennies that we had all saved just for this occasion. And we'd get all the cards going and we would be slinging them all over the place. And it was every generation. If you were too young to play, you would sit under the table and hope that some money fell off the table and then you got a bonus that day. And then as soon as you were old enough, you would be a part of that game playing time. And it was just a fun tradition in our family to grow up with. And now my kids and I play cards too. So when I was thinking about how to describe key signatures, I thought this is a perfect way to explain it to you, is to relate it to poker. So what I know is all through the years, I've learned dozens of different kinds of poker games, but they're all based on poker. And what I know is that the main thing that is consistent through all of those games is my set of standard deck of 52 playing cards. That never changed. It was always the same kind of deck of cards that we played with. The one thing that was changed each time was what the wild cards were. That's what made the poker games just a little bit different each time, and the way maybe we dealt them out. So when I think about key signatures, we're talking about labeling what notes are we playing as a musician. Anytime we're playing our instrument, we already know we're using the letters A through G. Always. Over and over again. That never changes. It's always A through G. Same every time. What changes every time is which notes are the wild card notes. That's what we have to talk about when we talk about key signatures. Let's go to my piano lab. Welcome to my piano lab. So before we go upstairs to my staff line lab, we're going to take a look at the piano and this set of notes right here. So when we talk about the letters A through G, if they're just the regular A, B, C, D, E, F, G, those are all the white keys on the piano. They are not sharp or flat. So when we just have regular notes, those are the notes that we hear on those when we press down those white keys on the piano. Now, when we talk about key signatures or the wild cards that are in our particular game that day, we have to talk about a couple symbols. The first symbol I'm going to tell you about is the flat symbol. That symbol means that we are going to take the note and we're going to just make it a little bit lower in pitch. So if you see this key right here is a white key, it sounds like this. If I were to make that note, which in this particular case is a D, if I were to make that a D flat, I would go up to the black key. The black keys are the sharps and flats. So if I go from a D to a D flat, we would hear that it goes down in pitch. Now, on the opposite side, there's another symbol to make the sound go and go higher, and that is the sharp sign. Yes, today's generation calls it a hashtag. It's ridiculous. It's either a tic-tac-toe board, or it's a pound sign, or it's a sharp sign. So again, if we go back to our note D, regular D, sounds like that. If we put a sharp sign in front of it, we're going to go up on the keyboard, and we'll hear a note that's a little bit higher than the D. So this is a D, this is a D flat, this is a D, this is a D sharp. So that's the difference of the black and white keys on a piano. They translate into being different pitches for those regular A through G playing cards or notes. Well, welcome to my staff lab right here. So when we talk about key signatures, we're going to find that information at the beginning of the piece of music, right between the clef and the time signature. It's going to be located right here. Now you might be thinking, well, there isn't a key signature there right now. There is. The absence of any flats or sharps result in knowing that all of your notes are natural notes, or those white keys on the piano. So let's take an example. Here are all kinds of notes that we would use in our playing. Now, let's say we were going to be in the key of B flat. It's a very common key. So here's what you would see in your key signature. You would see a flat sign here, and you'd see a flat sign here. Now, these are located on specific lines and spaces to go with the names of the notes that are going to be flat or a little bit lower. So this first one is on the B line. So we know that the B will be flat note. This is located on the E space, so we know that this note will be flat as well. It also tells us that the other notes are going to be natural notes. Now, let's say we wanted to have a different key signature. Let's say we wanted to have a key signature that was sharps. Let me put up some sharps on the key signature. We're going to start here, and we're going to put one here. Now, this indicates to us that two of our notes in that scale of notes are going to be sharped or raised up a half a step. The first one is on the F line, so that means our Fs will all be sharp notes. The next one is on the C space, so we know that the C will be sharp notes. Now, when we see this in the key signature, it applies to the entire piece of music. That means they don't have to write the sharp sign next to each note. Once they tell us, then we apply it to all the Fs that we see on the page, or all the Cs that we see on the page. They don't have to write it again. They just write it at the beginning of the line, and it reminds us, oh yeah, when I get to that note, it's going to be an F sharp, not an F natural. Now, if for some reason during the piece they say, just in this place, just this one time, we want your F to be the normal white key, then they would use this symbol right here. This is called a natural symbol. This would cause that one note, and it would be placed right next to the note, not at the beginning of the line, but just right next to that one note that they want to be back to that white key on the piano instead of the sharp note. Once that bar ends and that bar line or that measure line comes down, this gets canceled out and the key signature is back in action. So that is called an accidental. It's not an accident that it happened, but it was on purpose. But that's what it's called when they want to change just one note during the piece. They put a little symbol right next to that note called an accidental. Now the accidental could be on a regular note, like for example, if we wanted to make one E an E flat, but the key signature was two sharps, we would just put that flat sign right next to that E, and just for that measure, that E is going to be flat. And then as soon as that measure ends, boom, we're back to the key signature. All E's are natural. So this kind of gives us an idea of what our wild cards are. And it tells us what group of notes we're going to be playing with at that time. Now, the key signature applies to all the different octaves of those notes. So if you see here, we have a C that's down low. It's going to be sharp. But if the C sharp is in our key signature, this one is going to be sharp as well. And we have an F that's down low that gets the sharp sign. But if it's in our key signature, this one gets a sharp as well. So the key signature applies to all the different ranges of notes, and it tells us which ones are sharp and which ones are flat. And that gives us the ability to play all the right notes because they've given us all those rules of which ones are the wild cards. Now that you understand what a key signature means and where to find it, let me show you a couple of examples of different key signatures. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you now have a great start to building that concerto. We know about the title and the composer. We know about all our lines, our bar lines, measure lines. We know about our staff lines, the clefs, the names of the notes. We know about key signatures, time signatures, sharps, flats, and naturals. And now we'll be able to start really building that piece of music and understanding what all that stuff means. You even know about all the rhythms that go along with those different kinds of notes. So tune in next time and we're going to start adding all kinds of different facets and factors to create a great piece of music. Instead of just the notes and rhythms, we're going to take it to the next level now. Tune in next time and we'll see you again for Miss Jody's Musical Minutes.